We're ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Moonshiners Racing presented by Depot Street Sports. I'm your host, Michael Rizzo. I'm joined with the usual cast today, Bunny, Aiden Fortney, and Zachary Kendall. Guys, how are we doing on this fine Wednesday evening?
Not too bad. Can't complain. Been a very productive week. I've gotten a lot of schoolwork done this week. And today I've kind of just taken a day to relax. I played football earlier. Uh, didn't really do squat. I had 3 catches. All 3 were touchdowns, but I literally did nothing else other than that. All 3 1-yard touchdowns too. So, yeah.
I'm doing well. I went to a baseball game earlier, Ball State. They got shelled. I left around the 5th inning and just, chowed down on some McDonald's, being a classic American that I am. And now I'm doing this. I can't wait to talk NASCAR.
Yeah, it's been a long week, but I'm excited. This is the 3rd night in a row for us. So, yeah, excited to change it up and talk a little bit of NASCAR.
Yeah, 3rd night in a row of live streaming and getting this show out to you guys. We're really enjoying being live, getting to see you guys' comments live and answering your questions and all that. But let's get right into the show. Las Vegas, usually a track we all look forward to. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but must have a little bit of a letdown, maybe. But hey, this car is kind of expected. Sometimes there'll be duds, but let's get right into it. Denny Hamlin wouldn't be denied his 61st win, making him now the sole driver at 10th overall in wins in NASCAR history. Even with a speeding penalty, he went and won the race. Guys, thoughts on Denny Hamlin's drive and getting that 61st win at the same track where he won at last year to get the 60th win?
Very clutch drive by Denny Hamlin. Mentioned the pit road speeding penalty, and not to mention everything he's dealt with in the offseason. It was a very emotional win. There were definitely some tears in the post-race interview, and good reason for it. But I'm going to talk about the now rather than the past. Like I said, good drive. Had a speeding penalty. Texted in the group chat. Denny Hamlin with his monthly speeding penalty. He seems to always lead Cup drivers in speeding penalties every single year. Was able to bounce back. Had a great run past Kevin Harvick, who was in the booth, actually. That's who he was tied with before. Passed him now, which Harvick didn't seem to mind. He said records are meant to be broken. So, yeah. All around, just good for Denny Hamlin getting that 61st win and being 10th in NASCAR history. Now, if people just stop clowning him for not having a championship, it'd be perfect.
Yeah, Toyota as a whole started off really hot with qualifying. 5 of their cars were in the top 6 positions. And early on, I didn't catch the first 50 laps, but when I got on, Hamlin was in the lead, and Bell was right behind him. And, I thought it was going to be a Toyota dominant performance. And they had some mistakes. Hamlin, again, had a speeding penalty, got sent to the back. It takes some time to get forward, but, eventually, he'll find himself up there. He did. His car wasn't the dominant car that you would think it was, considering he did lead a lot of laps. But, if you were watching this race, you saw the run prior to the last run where before Connor Zilic spun out, William Byron actually was tracking him down. He was in lap traffic. He was getting tight, and he ended up relinquishing the lead, and then the caution immediately came out after Byron got around him. So I was thinking, if this is going to be the longest run of the day, he's going to have to be able to, do what he does best, which is take care of his tires just enough to where he doesn't fall off dramatically like he did there. And, he did that. And no one could hang with him. He got out to a 1.5-second lead, I think. And then eventually Chase Elliott, surprisingly, was coming forward and coming very close. But again, he was going to run out of too many laps unless Hamlin's car completely fell off a cliff, and that didn't happen. So a good win. Obviously, it's the first win of the season, 61st, and again, with everything that happened in the offseason for him, and seeing his own team 23-11 win these races 3 straight, he definitely wanted to get one for himself as a driver really early on. He did that, and he set himself forward for a good year, as what you should expect with Denny Hamlin now in the next gen car. Nothing is slowing him down. He's just, again, he's aging with wine. Is basically what they say. He's aging like fine wine.
Yeah, solid win for Hamlin here, and coming back from the speeding penalty. Yeah, we've seen him do it time and time again. And Aiden, you're right. He is one of the most penalized guys on pit road, but I think he just pushes the limit. And I heard it this week that it depends on the track. It depends on where you're going down pit lane, and just that little bit makes that difference in getting caught or not. And they're all riding that line. But for Denny, I think he needed this win this early in the season, and to kind of put himself in the right mindset with everything that happened in the offseason. He was my pick to win the championship this year. For that sake, I am glad that he picked up the win here at Vegas. But as far as Gibbs as a whole, they had a really good, solid finish overall. All 4 drivers in the top 10. So Gibbs put it together, and I think we're going to see Toyota have a major season this year with Chevy kind of backing off.
Yeah, to start with the Denny Hamlin stuff, I mean, dude is a stud. He and Zachary, you mentioned how he's aged like fine wine. There's a stat that's past his 700th start. He's got the most wins past his 700th start out of any driver ever. He also is, I think, he's not tied, but in the next gen era, he's one of 3 drivers who have an over 10% winning percentage in the next gen era since 2022. Those drivers are SVG and his abbreviated drive in this car, Kyle Larson and him. So pretty good drivers to be next to in that. Yeah, Denny Hamlin, he's really good. And he, I don't know about you guys, but this is going to go to our picks here, but I really wanted to pick him for this race, but I was just afraid that he still just didn't have that itch. He didn't have that extra oomph, that he's had, because he kept talking about, he wasn't ready to race and all this and that, and yeah, so I thought maybe he's going to start off slow, and he hasn't. He really hasn't, and if it weren't for that speeding penalty, he would have dominated that race. I mean, he did, but the stats won't say it, but he would have absolutely, took him to the woodshed at this track. But moving on to this next topic here, Bunny, you kind of talked about it. JGR and HMS, they kind of dominated pretty much the whole time. Now, not Justin Allgaier, pretty much back there in 30th all race long. He also had a speeding penalty, so they had to do something about it. But yeah, these cars are the cream of the crop. They are the best. We kept saying it the last couple of weeks here that when we get to Las Vegas is where we're going to see who's the cream of the crop, who's the top guys in this series. And it's the usual suspects, your JGR Toyotas, Hendrick Chevrolets. And then from then past those guys, that's who you got to look at. You got 2311 up there, but they kind of lost the handling as the run goes on. Who was also up there? RFK. We haven't talked much about RFK this year. They were up there. We will be talking about RFK later in this show. But guys, thoughts on what we saw overall, who was up front and who was really in the back? Who took the step backs?
Yeah, it's a perfect time to really gauge what we got exactly throughout the season, because we've had two drafting tracks. We've had a road course. We had a flat oval that was short oval, and we just got our first mile and a half. Yeah, like you said, I think JGR is the class of the field, personally, specifically Toyota too, 2311 as well. I dropped them into that. They just had a bad outing at 1 mile and a half track. Not the best showing, but I still think they're in a good spot. I mean, they're still 1-2 in the points and whatever the fuck Riley Herbst is doing. they're still running well. Not to mention Joe Gibbs, Hamlin with the win. Bell has showed speed. Briscoe has bad luck but shows speed. And Ty Gibbs has actually had a decent season. He's 10th in the points right now and has been running better. So I really look at Toyota as a whole with them. Chevy, not Chevy, Hendrick is a little bit more concerning. Chase Elliott, he's quiet, but he's consistent. He got almost won the 500, finished second in this race. He's just not really flashy. He doesn't go up there. He doesn't lead a lot of laps. He's just kind of there. Larson, for a little bit there, I thought Larson was going to have a little something for Hamlin. He did not, but he still had a great race, still had a great run. Byron is kind of in the same boat as Elliott. He's just kind of there. He's not really dominating. He's not really leading a lot of laps. Right now. Obviously, the other things, Trackhouse is fast at road courses. Penske's going to be quick on the flat ovals. Penske didn't really have a good showing. Logano, I don't even remember a thing he did the entire race. Cindric, I don't even remember a thing he did the entire race. Blaney got slid through his pit box on the final pit stop. He probably would have gotten at least a top 10 out of today. Not out of today. That was, it's been like 3 days ago at this point. Out of Las Vegas. So yeah, for me, it's Toyotas. Toyotas is the class of the field with JGR in 2311.
Yeah, I said it, when we were discussing Hamlin, I said Toyota was really quick in qualifying. They were. And they were obviously, a lot of them were in the mix the entire day. They all stayed up there basically, other than when Hamlin and obviously Ty Gibbs wasn't really up there all that much. Then he eventually got up there. But, Toyota has definitely showed their muscle here in the early going, as I expected to do so. I mean, yeah, sure. Losing Chris Gabehart, an asset like that to the organization, is big. But JGR as a whole is obviously very strong as an organization, and that showed. Chase Briscoe is a guy I wanted to highlight, especially is that he had the biggest struggle out of all of them. He had like a flat tire or something like that, guy in the wall. He had to be a lap down. He had to battle his way back. And this is a guy that needed a good run. Like I don't think he was in trouble, obviously, of missing out on the chase, for example, because again, he still have like 20 races left to go after this one. But he needed a good run. He needed something to go his way, and halfway through the race, it looked like it wasn't going to happen. It looks like he was going to be dealt with the same bad luck he had previously, where he was running in the top 10, top 5, and had a problem. Same thing happened here, but thankfully it wasn't detriment, it wasn't fatal to his race, and he ended up finishing 8th. So yeah, JGR as a whole definitely was flexing their muscles. Hendrick Motorsports, we mentioned last week how we were discussing if Chevrolet should be panicking right now. I said that they should be a little bit. Now, to be fair, maybe I jumped the gun a little bit because we hadn't been doing a 1.5 normal track. But I actually was, pretty impressed with the speed that Hendrick had race-wise. Now, obviously, they didn't end up winning it. Obviously, Elliott got seconds. Good result for him. Stays, obviously, top 5 in the points. Larson, I felt like, had the best car, but for some reason he fell off at the last run. I don't know if they made an adjustment go wrong or what. And then Byron was obviously top 10 all day long. So Hendrick, at least those cars, obviously did a great job. First time at a 1.5 mile track with this new body. So at least that can calm the waters a little bit. And then obviously Penske and RFK Racing. RFK as a whole is, I think, a better sum of its parts than just Penske. Now, obviously, Ryan Blaney's the top tier Ford driver that they have, but I'm talking about like as a whole. RFK, they always run well together. Like if one car runs well, 2 cars run well, all 3 of their cars run well. That's what was happening at Vegas. They were all in the top 15. Obviously, Buescher, I felt like was the best one, but you see with a team like Penske, they're not necessarily having that speed you expect on these type of tracks. And more recently, now they have focused on the flat ovals, and they're great at them, obviously. But I'm just saying, like, I was a little surprised by the lack of, raw speed that they had outside of Ryan Blaney. Obviously, he made that mistake in pit road, and that obviously cost him a few positions. But, it was a little shocking. But, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be too shocked considering that I'm not very high on Austin Cindric, and Joe Logano has also not done very well outside of maybe getting a few wins here and there in the regular season the last 2 years. Nashville with the 5 overtimes, Texas Motor Speedway. Still can't stand that track. So Penske has some work to do on these ovals. JGR out front leading with 2211 as well. So Toyota is doing really well. Hendrick, just stay in the battle, continue to keep working on these cars because sooner or later, Hendrick's going to be getting some wins here before you know it. But JGR and 2211, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, you got Gibbs and you've got 2311 here. They're the class of the field. I mean, they're above and beyond ahead of everybody else. And as far as Hendrick goes, I think they'll be fine later in the year. But with the OEMs, you're going to pour and invest as much as you possibly can into Hendrick right off the bat. And then everybody else goes in to follow as far as the Chevy field goes, because you've got NASCAR's most popular driver, you've got Larson, which is very popular, and you got William Byron, and it's Hendrick. I mean, they have been dominant for years, and they're going to be fine. It's just taking them a little while, and we see this when it comes any car change. It takes certain drivers a little bit of time, and that's kind of when you see. Remember when we went to this Gen car? There was some guys that normally we didn't see up front didn't seem to be as phased as some of the other drivers. So Hendrick's going to be fine. And it was a good performance from the top 3 there. Allgaier, he had a bad break and was down a couple of laps and couldn't dig their way back out. And yeah, I finished last again because I tried to go out on a whim. But, I mean, this is where Toyota jumps in and, they've got to put their foot down. They've got to knock out these Chevrolet drivers and kind of pin them back in a hole. And if you can do that, as far as an organization or between 2311 and Gibbs, get ahead, and then you've got RFK that's possibly right now outside of Ryan Blaney, the 4th best team in NASCAR. And put some of these Chevy guys, couple of the Penske guys, put them down to where they may have to struggle to get back in for the playoffs, or not the playoffs, the chase.
Yeah. So to go on the Hendrick kind of topic, I think that if you looked at it, they were the only Chevy team that had any contention at a top 10. Now look at the finishing results. Austin Dillon surprisingly finished 12th and was up there, but he wasn't even the next leading Chevrolet the majority of the day. I know, isn't that shocking? I thought it was. But like pretty much they were up there in the top 5 all day long, top 10 all day long. The next best Chevrolet teams were around 15th to 18th, 20th all day. And that's where Penske was. That's where, Trackhouse, Trackhouse has taken a lot of steps back. I feel like maybe not steps back. I just think everyone else has taken multiple steps forward over teams like Trackhouse. We thought Spire was going to be that next Chevrolet team. They were really non-existent this week. I don't know if it's the Chevrolet body or if you say that, but then Chase Elliott almost won the race. You could say the same about Kyle Larson and William Byron. Maybe Hendrick's just not sharing the information. Would that be shocking? No, not really. But I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how this kind of conversation goes out throughout the year. Because sure, like you could start off bad as a manufacturer or a team like Penske, besides Ryan Blaney, Hendrick, or these other Chevrolet teams. Because think back a couple of years ago, Aiden, you might know this one a little bit better than me. Wasn't it Penske a couple of years ago that it took them like the first 2-3 months they didn't get a win, and then they got a couple wins, and then everyone still didn't count on them, And sure enough, they obviously won the championship with either Joey Logano or Ryan Blaney. It was one of those years. I forgot which year exactly.
The first one that comes to mind is the 2018 season. Logano just missed the playoffs. And then the next year, he won at Talladega. Brad Keselowski won the final 3 races of the regular season, and Blaney won the Roval. So, like, to start off that year, like, they had 1 win after, like, the first 20 races or something. And then everyone counted them out. And then Brad Keselowski was a round of 8 driver. Ryan Blaney was a round of 8 driver. And Joey Logano won the championship over Truex, Harvick, and Busch, who were known as the big 3 in that season.
Yeah, like it's still way too early to say who's not going to be in it come the end of the season, but it's still a talking point to look at throughout the rest of the season. Moving on, the drama everyone wants to get to: teammates no more. Chastain versus Suarez. Guys, whose side are you on? First off, whose side are you on? And what's your thoughts on all this?
I'm on Chastain's side because Chastain has a personality and actually does stuff. I don't know. These are just 2 former teammates that are fighting over 19th late in the race, just getting into it. I hate that people break it up. I am always been a proponent of, like, NASCAR having the hockey rule. Let them fight. Let them throw punches. Don't get involved until one of them's on the ground. Then get involved. Like, that's always been my thought. I say that's what NASCAR should do. It'd be great. It'd be phenomenal.
Must see TV.
Yes, must see TV. Yes. I did find Ross's comments to Suarez funny. If you didn't hear it, he said, "You got fired. You got fired." Like, just pouring salt in the wound. Just like, you sucked, bozo. Get out of here.
Now, did you guys see the comments that both the drivers made after this? Pretty much, Suarez said, "Yeah, I could have fought him. I could have, gotten a fight with him. He would only lasted 5 seconds. He knows that." He said something else, that he's two-faced. He always has known that. Chastain said, kind of the same things. Suarez also said, "Oh man," he said, I don't know. Suarez had a lot to say. He's been holding back.
Yeah, he really has. But if anyone's followed Daniel Suarez's career, this is not shocking in the slightest. He always seems like he has that chip on his shoulder, whether that's good or bad, and whether he's good or bad or not. He always has that chip on his shoulder. He come from Mexico, making himself a name in NASCAR. He won the Xfinity Series championship in 2016. And if anyone's paid attention to this season so far, he actually has been beefing with the entire Trackhouse group. He got into Zilich at Coda. He had a run in with SVG at the Clash, I think is what it was, and then he obviously this past weekend at Las Vegas with Chastain. And I think it's these 2 Chevy teams in particular, Spire and Trackhouse. They're duking it out for like that second Chevy team behind Hendrick, and Spire has the Hendrick Alliance. They do get some of the Hendrick's information, not all of it, obviously, because they did struggle at Las Vegas, but they do get some of it, and Hendrick is helping them out. And we got to be honest here. You said that Trackhouse has taken steps back. I mean, outside of the road courses and SVG just being absolutely dominant, and that's his playing ground, Trackhouse has definitely taken a step back from the early days of the next gen. Like 2022, obviously, Ross Chastain broke out with 2 wins, made it to the championship 4. Daniel Suarez, when he was there, obviously got a couple wins. Both his wins in the Cup Series came with Trackhouse, but obviously last year was a struggle for him before he got moved over to Spire. And then they bring in this young hotshot phenom Connor Zillich, and he's 35th in the points. I mean, they definitely have taken steps back. Inspire is trying to obviously improve with their situation, and they spend a lot of money to try and do that. So they're duking it out for like the second in command. That's why, on top of this beef, I will say I think Trackhouse should honestly consider, if a fourth OEM comes into play, that they should jump ship, honestly, to get better resources and better, obviously better for them, because I don't think they're going to obviously jump Hendrick. No one is jumping Hendrick in the Chevy pipeline. But now to get to the Chastain and Suarez, just real quick, did not expect to see that. Honestly, Fox did a terrible job at covering it. They didn't show any of it until it was on pit road, and they were, talking it out. And then eventually, I saw the shove, that quote unquote shove, that Chastain gave to Suarez, immediately breaking it up. I'm all for fighting in NASCAR. Obviously, everyone knows the 1979 Daytona 500 when it was broadcast. The fight at the end of the race, obviously, is what made that race famous, not just the racing itself. So it sucks that they do find these drivers for showing personalities and trying to obviously be angered at their competitors, because at the end of the day, you're racing these guys basically like 45 weeks out of the year. So that sucks. I'm not surprised by it, though. I mean, Daniel Suarez, everywhere he's gone, he's been with JGR, he's been with Stuart Haas, he's been with Gaunt Brothers, obviously, for a year, went to Trackhouse, and now he's obviously with Spire. It's his 5th team in like 10 years. And every single time, every single team that he's left, he's kind of like obviously made a statement that said that he didn't really like that organization. What's funny is the fact that when he got to Trackhouse, he said this was his best opportunity that he's had in the Cup Series. And then obviously less than 5 years after that, he's up and gone, and now he's trying to take out their cars on the racetrack. I don't know. It should be fun to watch, though, because, again, he doesn't let stuff go, and I guarantee you Chastain isn't going to let this go either.
I agree. Neither one of them is going to let it go. But what I seen, I didn't see anything that provoked what happened necessarily. I mean, to cause the ruckus on pit road, Aiden, I agree. Let them fight. Let them fight. Now, if it's every single weekend, okay, but you got to show the personality, like Zachary's sitting here saying, and I'm all for that. You're going to be able to get behind those personalities. And both these guys have a unique personality. Suarez, I said it at the end of last year, I felt like he needed to go back to the O'Reilly series. I did. I felt like it was time for him to take a step back to maybe come forward. Yeah, Trackhouse, they have a great brand. They do. Probably one of the better brands in NASCAR, but they're not performing on the track. Spire, they're throwing the money at it. Their brand is not there, and they're not performing. It's two kids fighting over the same spot. It's really what it is. And yeah, I think Chastain, he caught fire a little too early. To add to what Zachary was saying, is that they caught fire early with this generation car, and they've not evolved. They've kind of stayed where they're at. And, they're thankful for SVG. Connor Zillich, that was a huge sign for them, but he's not performing. And I question what I said earlier this year is how's he going to perform throughout the season? But yeah, this Suarez, Chastain, it may not be this week. It may be in a couple weeks. If they're around each other at Martinsville, Bristol, we got a couple of short tracks coming up. That's when they're going to attack. And who pulls the trigger first?
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. They do tend to, at least so far this season, they have been driving around each other a lot. So it'll be interesting to see whether that's this week at Darlington or the short tracks, like you mentioned. It's going to be fun. But to go on to the Trackhouse topic we kind of had, yeah, ever since 2022, when the next gen came out, whatever they had in 2022 before everyone else, that's kind of what drove them to be that really good team out of nowhere in 2022. And then, Bunny, you were correct. They haven't evolved. They haven't done anything off of that yet since then. Now, sure, Chastain will get a win here or there. Obviously, you have SVG. He's ridiculous when it comes to the road courses. But everywhere else, it's like they just don't show up. And you had to go into Connor Zilic. It's only his 5th Cup race. I mean, at least this season in his team, with his team and his guys. He's had a lot of bad luck, a lot of things that haven't really been his fault per se. So I say it's still way too early to judge him. You got to adapt to this new next gen car, but anyway, let's move on and talk the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Kyle Larson gets the win with the troubles from Justin Allgaier and Jesse Love, who looks dominant at first, but they had separate issues and opened the door for Kyle Larson. Thoughts on the O'Reilly race, guys?
Bushwhacking's back. Yay. We had Cup guys beating up on some kids. Let's go. I don't really have any thoughts outside of that. Larson just kind of showed up, beat the field, left, went home probably cackling. I would. I mean, yeah, just a good race all around for Larson. Really shows his talent, how he is. It really shows the difference between, in my opinion, it really shows the difference between a top tier Cup driver and like Xfinity. I'll get it one day. We'll get it right one day.
Almost had it.
The top tier Cup guy and like a mid tier Xfinity. In a mid tier O'Reilly's guy.
You're doing it on purpose now.
I really like seeing the difference. Obviously, Larson's a veteran champion, 2-time champion in the Cup Series, so it's kind of what you expect, at least. Larson winning at Vegas against the Xfinity guys, and in a way, I kind of miss bushwhacking just a little bit. Not if a driver just straight up like competes in the Cup Series, but still wins the lower series championship, like what Carl Edwards did, then yeah, that's not fun. But I say if a Cup guy wants to go down there, have a little fun, beat the field, I say let him.
So I thought the O'Reilly Series race was better than the Cup race, in my opinion. They had a lot of comers and goers. It wasn't looking like that in the first like 2 stages because Allgaier was very dominant and Love was just right behind him. And it seemed like those two were going to duke it out for the win again. Kyle Larson's car was absolutely terrible in those first 2 stages. He was running around 8th place, which isn't bad, but obviously the talent level of Kyle Larson, you expect him to be in the top 5, top 3, and leading a lot of laps. That wasn't happening. And, well, stage 3 kicked off. Allgaier was very loose, and Love got around him. I thought Love was about to drive away. He didn't. He actually had problems on the pit stop, one of his pit stops, and that drove him back into traffic. And obviously, Allgaier also was back there after losing some spots on the racetrack. And then I thought Taylor Gray all of a sudden was in the lead. Then Sheldon Creed was in the lead. Then Corey Day was in the lead. And then Taylor Gray tried to get the lead back, and Sheldon Creed wrecked him. Which I'm surprised I saw the outline. I'm surprised you didn't have this on there. That was obviously a big talking point, was whether or not Creed turned to Gray or not. But I want to say before I get to Kyle Larson, Corey Day was doing one heck of a job, impressing. I feel like a lot of his haters, a lot of his doubters. I'm not saying I was one of those, but I was just like, it was going to take some time for him to get things, rolling a little bit, even though he was finishing really well. I mean, I'm talking about like just running clean races. But it seems like this one, like his car wasn't sticking to the bottom, so that part was obviously not on him. But he was doing a good job of obviously keeping it clean, keeping it off of guys, and just running up front. And he actually led laps, so obviously that's a good sign. But I think the last restart is when Kyle Larson was like lined up in like 5th place. He got to the outside, and they all got stacked up on the bottom with Brandon Jones. He runs around the top and obviously gets the lead. And from there, he's able to just obviously pull away at 2.5 seconds. Briscoe for a minute there felt like he obviously had the better car, but then he got caught up in lap traffic. The cars were running his lane. He couldn't really maneuver. And, the best car you can have is a car that can maneuver all over the racetrack. He wasn't able to do that. His car was seeming like was best, obviously, on the top. So that slowed him down a bit, and obviously Larson from there was able to hold on. So all in all, it was a very good O'Reilly race. Again, something that you expect week in, week out. This car never fails to dominate. They definitely should not change this car anytime soon. Keep it for the next decade at least, and that obviously will be very good. But yeah, for Kyle Larson, obviously to battle through the ill-handling car, keep your head in it, shows why he's obviously a very talented driver, and shows why he's a two-time Cup champion. So good for him, and good for Junior Motorsports.
Yeah, Larson going down to the O'Reilly series, if he doesn't have a mechanical failure or wrecks, there's no reason why he shouldn't go out and primarily dominate the race. And that's just my opinion. I mean, you've got a couple of guys that can go out there and kind of hang with him, but they really shouldn't. And Aiden, I'll be honest, I didn't get to see a whole lot of this race at all, but I'm going to tie into what you said. Is I think it makes the O'Reilly guys better, quicker for the Cup Series when you have these guys coming down to compete against them in that series. I get we want to build the brand. We want them to have their own league, and I'm okay with that. I wish that we seen a fluctuation of a little bit more guys on a consistent basis going down. And I just think it makes them better. Because we are seeing what Zilich is doing, and it could be the car. But he come out, run the number 1, and finished 7th this week. So if you're not in it, you're not in it. But kudos to Larson. He gets to put another trophy on the shelf and probably see it a couple more times this year.
Yeah, he'll definitely get a couple more trophies this year, especially in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. He will be filling in that 88 Hendrick Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports this upcoming race at Darlington. So I wouldn't be shocked if he gets the win there. Aiden, you kind of brought up bushwhacking. I've always been a fan of it because if you look at the drivers who come out of the Busch Series for when it was back then, those drivers seem to have been prepared more for the Cup Series compared to what we see now. Now, I'm not saying guys like Connor Zilich and these other young guys are not prepared, but I'm just saying these guys way back when were getting beat on the regular, and when they got to the Sunday show, they began to perform. So I just think that the more these younger drivers or these drivers in the lower series get to play against or race against these guys, I think the better they become. They get to learn their skills, learn their craft against these guys. I'm all for it. But to go on about Kyle Larson, yeah, terrible car to start. I mean, top 10 guy. But while the other drivers in Love and Allgaier had troubles with the handling, Love also had a pit road penalty. Him and his 88 team, they fixed the handling on that car, and he was able to get up front and get the win. There was a point of that race, I think all of us thought, wow, Corey Day is going to get the win. After all the crap we've been saying about Corey Day, he's going to win his first cup, wow, I almost did too. O'Reilly race. And it wasn't the cards for him, but that win is coming. If he keeps racing the way he is, I mean, honing it back a little bit, a win is in the cards for him, and he'll get that win. But yeah, great race. Yeah, my bad. I completely forgot to add the Sheldon Creed and Taylor Gray situation, guys. Thoughts on the Taylor Gray and Sheldon Creed situation on that?
Yeah. Okay. I guess obviously I'm the one that brought it up, so I get to be the one that gets to talk about it. Both of them were running in the top 3. They both were right on Corey Day's tail going into 3. And again, I talked about how Corey Day's car couldn't hook it to the bottom. He did it once again. He was a lane up, and Taylor Gray was going to go to the bottom of the track to try and get at least underneath him. And then, well, I guess Sheldon Creed thought that real estate was going to be his because he also drove down to the bottom. I don't think he lifted either. And then obviously ends up with Taylor Gray overcorrecting into the wall, big damage, and obviously ruins his race. And I saw both their interviews. They both were seeming like a little confused about what actually happened. But I mean, it's hard racing in my opinion. It wasn't really like a bad block. It's just that they were both going for the same type of track, which is the inside, because Corey Day was like leaving the inside open available. And as racing goes, the time of tale of racing goes, you leave a hole, you go for it, unless you're Brad Keselowski, in which case there was no hole essentially, and he wrecked Jeff Gordon. But that's another completely different story, completely different discussion. But yeah, here there was a hole there, and they both tried to fill it. And obviously, there's not enough racetrack to go around for all those cars in just one corner. They're really entering the corner when you're like slowing down almost. So it was unfortunate for Taylor Gray. Obviously, he got a wrecked car, and obviously he lost some points because of that. In the standings, but Sheldon Creed, I don't think he meant it. He doesn't really do that type of stuff. I don't think he meant anything of it. I guess he was kind of alluding that it was a bad block, but honestly, I just feel like it was just hard racing in the end, and nothing these guys should be worried about because they're gonna have quick cars to finish, get good results in the coming weeks and months, and they're gonna be racing around each other a lot. So honestly, trying to wreck each other if it ever gets past this is not a good idea, considering that every single series is more of a points standings format than it was obviously winning in. So I think they should just leave it here, maybe have a talk obviously during this week, and then get it over with.
Yeah, I thought this situation between Taylor Gray and Sheldon Creed was more just what you said, hard racing. And if you go back a couple laps before that, this entire time, Taylor Gray was doing that same block into turn 3 the entire time. That was like his move, if you will. And maybe Sheldon Creed kind of overcooked the corner, or he's like, nah, I'm done with it. At the same time, I just don't think it was like bad by Sheldon Creed. I think that's just hard racing, and I think people are kind of overreacting about this whole situation. Like, oh my gosh, he took him out there. That was a bad block. Now, sure, he could have let up, but when you block like that, going into the turn 3, turn 2, wherever it is going to be off of those corners there, it's just a dumb move. It's a low percentage move. It's not going to work in those situations, especially there late in the race when Sheldon Creed has been kind of on it, especially of late since his first win in the O'Reilly series. So, we'll see what happens between these two. If they race each other differently, almost kind of like Chastain and Suarez. But anyway, let's move on to news around the garage. Like always, we start this section off with a look at the point standings after 5 weeks. I'll start off by listing off the 16 drivers that would be in I almost said playoffs, the chase, if the chase were to start today. In first is still Tyler Reddick. Second, Bubba Wallace. Third, Ryan Blaney. Fourth, Denny Hamlin. Fifth, Chase Elliott. Sixth, Christopher Bell. Seventh, Kyle Larson. Eighth, William Byron. Ninth, Chris Buescher. 10th, Ty Gibbs. 11th, Joey Logano. 12th, Brad Keselowski. 13th, Ryan Preece. 14th, Michael McDowell. 15th, Carson Hocevar. And 16th, dropping 11 spots, Shane Van Gisbergen. Taking a look at this at this point, I don't know about you guys, but it's looking like the chase standings is starting to take shape for what we all thought it would look like. Now, obviously, there are still drivers who are way out of it, like a Chase Briscoe, who some had as a championship, not favorite per se, but a championship contender. There's Connor Zilic is still not technically last, but he's 35th in points. Obviously, Alex Bowman still hasn't raced since Coda, back there in 36th. I mean, there's a lot of guys here that you would think would be in different spots. And then taking a look at the 16 drivers I mentioned, I mean, 23-11, still 1-2 in points. Christopher Bell and the JGR guys, they're finally starting to move up. Ty Gibbs, he's with those 3 top 5 finishes he had in a row there, up to up to 10th in the point standings. Joey Logano only 11th. I mean, we all kind of thought Joey Logano would take that step back in the standings. This kind of format. They're in 11th. It's kind of to me, it's kind of crazy to see him that far off. But that's just kind of the test of the test of the tail for Penske and how they've been. And then you have all the RFK Fords in there. They've been running solid, and I think they're going to be running pretty good here this upcoming week at Darlington and from here on out. And then the Spire guys, they're all also in the playoffs chase, besides Daniel Suarez in 17th, tied for the first car out. So, guys, thoughts on the standings?
Yeah, like you said, I feel like it is starting to form. Obviously, we're still getting huge drops. Normally, when you can tell, like, at what point in the season we're in, is if drivers have, like, huge drops or huge gains in the points, just because, like, everyone is kind of, like, it's a new season. People are still have low points, if that makes sense. So it's very easy for guys to drop quickly and also rise quickly. Like we mentioned, Joey Logano in 11th. Last week he was in 7th in points. He dropped 4 spots, which is a concern I have for Logano. I gave him my props. I gave him my flowers last week in the show, but you cannot just be there at these intermediate tracks. You can't just like be somewhere into. I keep saying somewhere into it because I don't know where Joey Logano ran. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did. Like and he's a 3-time NASCAR champion somehow. Anyways, yeah, the RFK guys, those were guys that I was concerned with, specifically Brad Keselowski and Ryan Preece. I thought they'd be in that 16 range. Both Preece and Keselowski are 13th and 12th. Buescher's in 9th, but I kind of figured Buescher would be in that like 9 to like 12 range, somewhere around there. Almost said a different number. One thing I want to point out too, AJ Allmendinger is in 18th and he's actually tied for 16th in points. 16th is a 3-way tie between SVG, Daniel Suarez, and AJ Allmendinger. Allmendinger, of course, he ran good at COTA. He's a road course ringer. Kind of stayed out of trouble at Daytona, Atlanta, and he has been driving pretty solidly right now for Kaulig. Like you said, Briscoe still concerns me, but I don't know. I think he can make up that gap. One driver I really wanted to talk about, though, is Josh Berry. Josh Berry is 32nd in points right now. I want to point that out because where has Josh Berry been? Josh Berry won at this track last year. Was a no-show this year. And really, like last year, after he did win at Las Vegas, it was a no-show then, too. He had the worst round of 16 in NASCAR history and will ever be the worst round of 16 in NASCAR history. Not even round of 16. Worst round, period, in NASCAR history. We criticized SVG last year for only winning on road courses and not doing well on ovals. SVG was in front of Josh Berry in the points last year at the end of the year. Now, yes, SVG having 4 wins does help that a lot, but SVG was running 30th on ovals, just running there. And yeah, he had more points than Josh Berry. So something needs to change over at the Wood Brothers. Something needs to change with Josh Berry. Because right now he's putting up Harrison Burton numbers, and that's not a good thing at all. All right, we clowned on Harrison Burton. I don't want to clown on Josh Berry. Also, I will not clown on Josh Berry because even though, yeah, the points kind of says and the points kind of says that he's running Harrison Burton numbers, really, if you do actually watch him, he's not Harrison Burton. But, yeah.
Yeah, all the top contenders are rising. The cream of the crop is rising to the top, is what they like to say. Cancel the season. I need to see Zane Smith and Noah Grayson in the top 10 in points. I want to see those guys get their love. Nah, I'm kidding. I love you guys, but obviously this is expected by this point in the season. You after obviously go to Phoenix, after you go to Las Vegas, and these type of obviously normal ovals, you're going to see these guys gaining a lot of points on the field. So obviously 22-11 again at the top. Blaney so close to the second place in points right now, only 6 back. So I like Bubba Wallace, but I think he's not going to be able to hold on to that second spot for much longer because obviously Blaney is the best guy at his manufacturer. And Bubba, I kind of predicted him to be like an 8th to 10th points guy, honestly, as his ceiling almost. So, he is close to dropping out of second, but he's had a great start to the season, no doubt. Okay, so he's doing his job. Shane Van Gisbergen, big loss in the points. Obviously had a very, very bad week at Las Vegas. And this is what I mean. Like, he didn't win at Coda, and when he doesn't win, he doesn't get those extra points that you get from winning. And those could really be a big boost to him, because instead of being 16th, he could have been like around 8th place with William Byron. And he didn't win it, and he just got second place points. Now, that's not bad, and he's been obviously doing very good on the ovals for his standards. But I'm just saying, like, we got rid of the winning in, but winning obviously still does matter a little bit, which is what Mark Martin was alluding to when they introduced the format, how they want to have a balance between winning in and points. And you're seeing that, no doubt, with Shane Van Gisbergen obviously dropping 11 spots. Briscoe up to 26. He was 33rd. And, I mentioned obviously during the portion of the Cup series here how he couldn't afford another bad result, in my opinion, because if he got another bad result, that means that he's, again, around 33rd in points before Las Vegas. And let's say he wasn't able to recover and he was just back there a lap down or multiple laps down. And because of that, he's not able to obviously gain spots on the racetrack, basically, at least not high enough. And he's just riding around in the 30th points after 5 races, which, again, it's not a total panic, but you need to get some momentum going. And he has had some good speed on the track, just unfortunate breaks. He got an unfortunate break at Las Vegas, but he was able to overcome that. That team was able to overcome that. So big gain for them. Ty Gibbs in 10th. He's wishing the JGR, Chris Gabehart, Spire lawsuit continues, because ever since it's started, he has a 5th place average finish. So he hopes that keeps going, but, he's doing a good job, no doubt. Again, he's on the best stretch of races of his entire Cup career. He hasn't won, but again, a 4th, and a 5th is nothing to be ashamed about, especially since you got to be picking up points, because more guys that were buried in the standings early on are going to be coming very quickly. RFK, I had them making the chase, all 3 of their cars. Busher is no doubt obviously been a very consistent driver, just doing his thing. Keselowski obviously was a little worried. Some people were a little worried, obviously, about the knee injury, but hasn't really slowed him down. He's had some good speed, being solid there in 12th. And Ryan Priest doing Ryan Priest things, being, quiet under the radar and just doing his job of keeping the car clean. He's almost like Josh Berry, just he's been running better than Josh Berry, honestly, so that makes sense. Spire is holding on by a thread with Michael McDowell and Carson Oswald right now. Again, kind of a no-show at Vegas, really surprising, because you felt like at Vegas, especially with Carson Hocevar, those type of fast tracks, I felt like it's his bread and butter. And I never saw him up there at all. He wasn't really contending for even a top 10. So Spire definitely needs to rebound this week at Darlington any way they can. And obviously got Daniel Suarez there, tied for 16th in the standings. You got Ross Chastain in 20th. It's kind of outside of obviously Shane Van Gisbergen, the other trackhouse guy you're looking at, because the only other guy is, again, what I mentioned with Connor Zilich. He's 35th, and the only guys he's ahead of is Alex Bowman, who hasn't run since the 3rd race of the year, and then obviously Casey Mears and guys that only ran at Daytona. So definitely got to be picking that up a little bit. I didn't pick him to make the playoffs, or not playoffs, excuse me. We're all saying playoffs. The chase. Okay, so that's really all I have to say about it. But again, I have to keep mentioning it. Fox, please show the point standings after every race is over with, bro. We can't just like you can't be like promoting it and then not show it. I mean, so that's all I got to say about that.
To be fair, they did show it 20 minutes after the checkered flag. 20 minutes after the checkered flag. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know what takes so long, but yeah, they showed it late, way after the checkered flag. But yeah, you guys brought up some good points. Bunny, any thoughts on?
No, I mean, I'm just going to add a couple of things. I really like what this chase is showing, primarily because of what we've been able to see with SVG here, how much he fell off. And that just really proves to everybody that this format is the best compromise. He went out, he underperformed, and he fell 11 spots. That's going to have to mark for consistency overall with this chase format. And I've gave my flowers to Bubba a few times already this year, but Gibbs shocks me right now. And he's right there in 10th place, and he's actually performing of some sorts. And he had a good weekend this weekend. But I agree with Rizzo what you said earlier. I do feel like for the majority, the playoff or the point system and the chase, it's starting to level out. People are getting into their realm of position. I do think Briscoe does climb out of it, but he's going to be in that 12 to 16 range, and he's going to have to string some races together here. And Zilich, you are only 27 points ahead of Bowman that's only ran 2 races. You've got to bring it on. And Barry, bad luck. Bad luck. I think he's a decent driver. I just think that he's hit a streak that's not in his favor, and it could just be he's in that Ford camp. It could be the Ford because you got Gregson, Cindric, Gillen, and Barry, all 3 or 4 back there in the back. And the only one that's really showing anything over the top is Blaney.
Yeah, I think it was Ryan Blaney who had a pretty good saying about this new points format, and that it is a elevator ride down to the bottom, and a long staircase journey back to the top in order to get your way back up there. So it's going to be a grueling season for those drivers there at the bottom, towards the bottom of the standings. But if you have one bad race, you can see it with SVG. Goes from 15 points to way in the back, the last car in it, if the playoffs were to start. So yeah, pretty good stuff. So let's move on to the other news we have. Update on Alex Bowman. Hendrick announced that he will miss the next 3 races up to the Bristol date. And Justin Allgaier will fill in for him while he still heals up from vertigo. Guys, any thoughts on this?
A few things. Number one, obviously this is horrible for Bowman in his season. Not to pile on top of it, it's a contract year for him. Hendrick Motorsports is going to have to make a decision on whether or not to keep him, and a lot of that is going to come when he comes back. And not to mention, like, now it's an issue. Like, Hendrick is now wondering, should they even re-sign him if he can't stay in the car? We kind of saw it with BEI with Steve Park. He couldn't stay in the car, so they had to let him go. And now we got Alex Bowman is having the same issue. He had the back injury. He had the concussion. Now he's got vertigo and he's missing races. So yeah, that's a major issue. Obviously he can come back and go on a tear. I think this is also a good opportunity for Hendrick Motorsports to look at the 48 team as a whole. Look at the crew chief, look at the pit crew. What are they doing? Because Allgaier can race. All right. I know he had a bad night, bad day at Las Vegas. He has proven that he can run well. When Larson had to miss the Coke 600, he finished 13th in the race. Like, Allgaier is not a washed bum who's going to run 30th. And if he struggles and does run 30th, a lot of that's going to get put on the car chief. A lot of that's going to be put on the crew chief. And obviously, if they have pit road issues, that'd be an issue too. So I think this is going to show a lot for Hendrick. And I think if the latter does happen and like Allgaier doesn't run well and then Bowman comes back and Bowman's just, Bowman standards, then I think Hendrick could consider the season a wash and possibly get a new crew chief and car chief and whatever else changes need to be made if that does happen. But I do say if Allgaier shows out and like starts running well and runs okay, then I think Bowman could be out the door.
Yeah, you mentioned it with Steve Park. I mean, my brother doesn't like it when I bring it up, and it's not obviously a perfect comparison, but I mean, when Steve Park got brought up to Cup with DEI, obviously he suffered those catastrophic injuries at Atlanta and had a couple building years in between that. And then at the same age, I think he was as Bowman. When it seemed like he was finally figuring it out, he has his Darlington wreck and he misses a bunch of races. He comes back like 6 months after the accident and he's not the same anymore. And for Bowman, it's not just been this one incident. This is not even like an injury. It's like a symptom of something that they haven't really diagnosed. They said it wasn't concussion related, but I mean, you do have to think about the concussion that he suffered at Texas, missed 5 races. Obviously, the next year breaks his back, misses 3 more races, and now obviously your responsibility as a NASCAR driver is to obviously really run really well, but also just to be in the car. And he's missed time now 3 of the last 5 years because of injuries and diagnosis and stuff like that. And he's not some old driver. Like, this is not a Kurt Busch situation. God forbid if it does turn into a Kurt Busch situation. Obviously, I hope that doesn't happen. No one hopes that happens, but he's 32 years old, and no matter what you think about him, obviously it sucks to see any driver go through this because, coming into the year, this was a big year for him. Everyone was saying it. I mean, he had to battle and fight for his job because there are free agents out there. Like Tyler Reddick is still not locked up with 2311 yet, and they got some other guys that are looking for a ride both in Cup and Xfinity, and Xfinity, O'Reilly Series. And God, so many changes, man. So many name changes. It's hard to keep track of. So you got drivers out there that are looking for rides, and that 48 car, it is a good ride, okay? But it is at Hendrick Motorsports. But I will say, again, I missed the first 50 laps, 55 laps. I came back, turned on my television, see Allgaier running 35th, and I'm like, what happened? What happened? And then I realized that he sped on pit road twice. I think they said his lights wrong or whatever, but you are right about the 48 car, and this is the time to really see, how big of a mess it is in that 48 car. Because again, I've mentioned it like in our Snapchat group chat. I said like the way the 48 car is running, is that car even a Hendrick car anymore? It seems like it isn't because it's out there running 25th or worse. So obviously, all the prayers go to Alex Bowman. His playoff chase hopes are done, obviously, because he can't miss. He could basically afford to miss 2 races, which is what he has, and he can't afford to miss more, and he's missing more. So prayers to Alex Bowman. Hope he gets better. Hope he gets healed quickly. Hopefully this isn't obviously career altering, and I wish Justin Allgaier all the best, because again, it is a good opportunity, and Allgaier is a good driver.
Yeah, I hate it for Bowman. I hate what he's going through and the injuries and everything, but you guys are right. It's a good way to evaluate the team. and Allgaier is the guy to put in that car to get it evaluated. He is at least going to be able to bring the car home in one piece, pending nothing happens. He's not going to go out and wreck, tear up the car, be stupid. Something's going to happen to him for him to bring it home in, two pieces. But I agree. And again, I've had it to where Bowman's on his way out. And you said Steve Park. I kind of went Trevor Bain. He had the health issues that had to get him out of the vehicle and out of the car. And what was it? Brian Vickers, didn't he have some issues? But he was another Hendrick guy. And I hate it, but Junior, he kind of pulled the trigger there towards the end of his career. That's how Bowman got started. He was filling in for Junior at the end. So it's not the first time that we've seen this happen, and by far it's not going to be the last. I hate that that's how somebody's career may have to alter a path there, but it's a bad situation. But somebody's going to prevail. Somebody's going to be able to step up, and we'll see what happens. And I think Hendrick will probably try to do the best thing for Bowman in that situation. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think and you kind of said, like, is it time to think about who's going to be in that 48 next for Hendrick? But I also think, is it time for Alex Bowman to think, hey, maybe I can't do this anymore? Like hell, you got to think about your health. There's been plenty of drivers who had to cut their career short. Now, I don't want this to happen for him. I really don't. But I mean, you look what happened to Dale Jr. and all his concussions that he had that led to him retiring early. Casey Kane, he had a bunch of concussions and other health-related injuries to massive hits that he took. And I mean, there's plenty more. The list goes on. I'm sure of it. And if you go back and you see some of the wrecks that Alex Bowman has been in, whether it's in a sprint car or the cup car or any car that he's ever driven in, he's had some nasty hits, some nasty crashes. Just last year, he had a really bad wreck where he just nosed it right into the wall at Michigan. If you look at his stats prior to that wreck and then after that wreck, he was averaging a top 12 finish. After that wreck, he had, I think, out of the 14 remaining races, I think he had like over 80% of them was like a finish beyond 20th, something ridiculous. So I'm not saying that wreck itself led to this, but I just think he's got to really prioritize his health, get really healthy. Sure, it is a contract year, but I have this feeling that Hendrick's not gonna let him go just because of an injury. I don't know. Maybe they will, but I really thought that this points format would have played beneficial to Alex Bowman's career, because he's always been a really consistent driver when he's been healthy, and sadly he just hasn't been healthy. Moving on, let's get to silly season. Yeah, we're talking silly season in March after week 5. It's kind of crazy. Every show is kind of talking about it. On the door bumper clear, they brought up that certain drivers who are in contract years, obviously they said the ones we all know, Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, who's yet to sign a deal, but if I'm 23-11, you just give him a blank check at this point. I'm sure Michael Jordan can afford him. But they said an interesting name on door bumper clear that is in a contract year and has not signed a contract. Ryan Blaney. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, pretty shocking. I want to know what Aiden has to say about that. But there's going to be plenty of seats open. On door bumper clear, they said they wouldn't be shocked if there's around 4 to 6 drivers swapping seats. That's a big number. I don't think we've had that many drivers swap seats in a while. It's been a long time. There's also been talks on RFK and what are they going to do?
Anyone swap seats in a long time, brother.
No. I'm saying that amount of drivers. That amount. Okay. It's a lot. To me, that's a lot. I don't know. I could be way off on my on what I'm saying, but I mean, obviously we saw a driver swap last year, but I'm saying like the amount of 4 to 6. I just think that's a lot, especially in this age of NASCAR. You don't really see much getting shaked up. But yeah, then going to RFK, they have that third charter. They're leasing it from Rick Ray Racing, but that charter was just bought by Legacy Motor Club. Legacy Motor Club is going to have a third team next year. What does that leave RFK to do? Who is going to be out? Are they going to re-sign Ryan Preece? Is Chris Buescher gone? Is Brad Keselowski going to retire from full-time racing? What is going to go on there? Guys, thoughts?
A lot of interesting spots. Well, obviously, you mentioned Ryan Blaney. I'm cool with where Blaney is at right now. I'm cool with him being at Penske. The only way I say he should go somewhere else is if, like, one of the top 3 Hendrick cars are opened, all right, or something like that. But otherwise, he's a championship contender. He's a top 5 driver. I would argue top 3, and I don't think he's 2 or 3. But anyways, you can't, no matter what, you can't deny he's a top 5 driver. And Penske knows that. So Penske will definitely want to bring him back. He's already got a win on the year. He's 3rd in points. He was up to 2 before Las Vegas.
You sure you don't want him in the 35? Because I would like him in the 35.
I will blow my brains out. Anyway, no, yeah, there's a lot of other interesting spots. Obviously, we mentioned Bowman, RFK with their whole Ryan Preece situation. I think this is kind of like an underrated thing they have not mentioned. I think there's a really good chance Brad Keselowski does retire after this season, and obviously they put Ryan Preece in the 6 car, which would be great. I'm open to the possibility of them just getting that charter and just keeping the same roster they have right now. Just a lot of possibilities, a lot of craziness. I think everyone kind of held off, especially with last year, because I think everyone was kind of like, okay, what are we going to do with the charter situation and stuff like that? So now everyone's like, okay, we're good, cut loose, pretty much.
Obviously, one of the great things about NASCAR, outside of obviously some of the racing, not every racetrack is phenomenal, but outside of some of the racing, the best thing that NASCAR can provide is craziness, and that's what happens in silly season. I mean, it's called silly season for a reason, and none bigger than this upcoming one, because again, there's a lot of drivers that are looking for deals, looking for rides. If Dorbo McClure is right, in which case they say that 4 to 6 drivers are going to be on the move, that's great for me, because that's one of my predictions, was that 3 or more drivers would be swapping rides. So that'd be great for me. I got that prediction right if that was the case. But yeah, first off, to Ryan Blaney, he would be the R word if he left Penske. Because I'm just saying, okay. I don't trust a 48 car. I don't trust a 48 car to be living, like, running well, unless he's bringing over Jonathan Hassler. If he's bringing over Hassler, then I think it's all good. But he is the top guy at his own team. Okay. I caught you guys off guard with that one. My bad. What was this? Oh yeah, and the RFK racing. I'm the one that brought this up, and the reason why I brought it up is because I saw it on Twitter and was like running around. First off, Brad Keselowski said he wants to run until he's 48, 49 years old, and that's like 6 more years away, 7 more years away. You want to do the emote real quick. So if that's the case, he's not going to go anywhere, and obviously he likes Chris Buescher a lot, and I feel like Chris Buescher is their solid and steady driver. So I don't see him leaving unless, again, a team like Hendrick or Penske comes calling for like that 2 ride. Because honestly, I feel like Chris Buescher in the 2 would be really good to see for his career, honestly. But at this point, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think RFK is going to let him go. And then you got Ryan Preece. Obviously, Preece was his entire career has been like on a what's it called? It's like a sand hourglass full of sand, because again, he's like always waiting for his next opportunity. He got a great opportunity with RFK, obviously won the Clash. Almost made the playoffs last year, came really close. He's done really well so far this year. But, again, that third charter was never guaranteed to go more than these 2 years, and that's the case. That's what's going to happen this year. So the rumor I saw was that Hayek Motorsports, the 47, apparently they are struggling this year as well with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. They might be looking to get out, and if they are looking to get out, that is one way you can get that charter, is their charter. Before they leave, they can sell it for like $40 million because these charters go for ridiculous prices. But it should be definitely interesting to watch how this all breaks down. Typically, we always saw Kyle Larson sign his deal. He wasn't going to go anywhere. I think that was a no-brainer. But these other guys like Kyle Busch, again, he's been beefing with the team week in, week out, nonstop on the radio. I think he's going to be leaving RCR. Where's he going to go? Obviously, Austin Dillon is still a free agent, but he's not leaving. Spire with Daniel Suarez, he's done a nice job so far this year, but can he keep it up? I don't know how long Michael McDowell's contract goes. He said he signed a multi-year deal, but this is his second year. So we'll see about that. Cindric, Reddick, Bowman, okay, you get it. There's a lot of guys out there. So come the summer, it should be very, very interesting to see where all these dominoes fall.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. I don't think Blaney goes anywhere, as I think he's grandfathered in. I don't see Penske getting rid of him. Logano, they're going to be lifers, or at least later into their career. Cindric, I could see them moving on from him. RFK with the 3 charters and having to give the one up because of Legacy Motor Club. I'm anxious to see who Legacy puts into that car for sure. I guess my big thing is, we're post NASCAR, but I'm going to start seeing some of these owners are going to want to have the option of that 4th charter because, they grandfathered in Hendrick, they grandfathered in Gibbs with the 4. But some of these owners, they're going to try to start pushing for the opportunity to have a 3rd and a 4th charter. And I believe we're going to see that sooner than later just because of the competition level, because you're already kind of seeing it, and we've already said it tonight. You have Hendrick, you have Gibbs, and then you kind of have everybody else at that point. So I think we're going to start see teams push for the equalness of it. Or is NASCAR going to kind of flack back and say, okay, everybody gets 3? You don't know. I don't know that they're even going to do anything. But I think with somebody like Penske giving them the option, RFK at least having the option for a 3rd charter, that's something that does need to happen. And time will tell. But I think you are right. Silly season is going to be a little bit ridiculous. Reddick, I think if he holds up, he's safe. They're not going to let him go because he's kind of the flagship man at 2311. So we'll see what happens. Busch, he needs to get out of Childress. And you said it, Dillon's not going to go anywhere, but he should. Childress needs to do something to revive that team. And what that is just clean house and start over. It's Childress Racing's in a really bad situation right now, and it's not good for him, and it's not good for the sport.
Yeah, that's a spot on take right there. They need a clean house there, need to revamp everything they have. Now, it's a great O'Reilly program, but the Cup side, it's lacking, and it's been lacking for years. But for me, what I believe is going to happen is it's going to be a whole lot of hurry up and wait. We're just going to be waiting until that first domino falls, whoever that is. I would be absolutely shocked if we don't see Tyler Reddick resign and Ryan Blaney resign. I think the first move is going to be, what does Spire do? What does Spire do with the 7 car? What does Spire do in that regards? And if that ride becomes open, Kyle Busch is the immediate pencil in at the 7. I would assume, right? Then it's what are you going to do with the 48? What happens there? I mean, there's plenty of guys that are available. And then if Kyle Busch does leave the 8, do you move up Jesse Love, or do you get one of these other guys that had just lost the ride? Do you get a Daniel Suarez in the 8? I doubt it. I would assume that's the spot for Jesse Love. But at the same time, just a couple weeks ago, we were hearing rumors that Jesse Love was one of the favorites to land that third car at Legacy Motor Club. Just a couple years ago, he started off as a Toyota development driver. He swapped over to Chevrolet and RCR because they offered him that seat in the 2 car. He was running and winning races in the ARCA series, skipped over Toyota in the truck series, went straight into the Xfinity series. So I'd be interested to see what happens with all this. There's a lot of drivers who could be moved around here. Same thing could be said about Corey Heim. Is he finally going to get a full-time ride like he deserves to be? And we'll see. It's going to be fun, but I think we're going to be waiting to figure out. We're talking about it now in March. I'm sure we won't hear really anything set, stone, and confirmed until past the summer months or just around the summer. It's going to be a little bit. All right, our last topic for the Around the Garage news section here is Daniel Dye has been suspended indefinitely by NASCAR and Colic. He said some stuff during a live stream, kind of reenacted some things with a voice, if you will, and he has since been suspended by NASCAR. I'm assuming what they'll have him do is do insensitivity training, and then we'll see if he's reinstated to NASCAR. But we'll see what happens there. Guys, any thoughts on this situation?
Just unfortunate. Daniel Dye was coming through the series. He had a really solid ARCA career. This is definitely a hamper into his career. That does suck. We saw Kyle Larson have to do this with his incident in 2020. Yes, he is going to do sensitivity training. They already confirmed that. So we don't know exactly what the training is or how long it takes exactly. We know Kyle Larson missed the pretty much 90% of the 2020 season. 2020 only had 4 races until COVID hit, and then that's when Larson's incident was, and Larson did not come back until 2021. So we could see the same with Daniel Dye, missed the entirety of the season, actually almost perfectly at the same time COVID hit NASCAR in 2020, actually. So we could see him miss the entire year and possibly get reinstated. It's just unfortunate this had to happen. Sucks to see stuff like this pop up. It's not a good image for the sport. It's not a good image for Daniel Dye. It's not a good image for his team, his family, for anyone really. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a bad situation, and NASCAR, the team, everybody's going to have to do what needs to be done to help him with what had happened. Aiden, you said it with Larson there. We've seen it before. They have protocols. They have a system that they've got to go through. We will see him back. I don't know when. I could see next season. Yes, I do agree, but he's no Kyle Larson, and it may take him a little while to climb back up. So we'll just have to wait and see how everything unfolds, and hope that everybody can overcome the situation and we can move on.
Yeah, it's not a good situation for sponsors to be in, and NASCAR had to do something like this. But sucks to see that he was put in that situation. He decided to say something and do something on a live stream. Just wasn't the place for it. Anyway, let's move on to the awards ceremony. As always, I start off first with Top Shelf, and I'm gonna have to give it to. I mean, it's the easy pick. I'm going to give it to Denny Hamlin. Getting his 61st win, moving to the sole position of 10th in all-time wins in the Cup Series. Just an emotional win. with his entire family being there. The same track where he got his 60th win right before his father passed away. It was an all around great win. I mean, who would have thought that? Pretty much, I'm sure there's a lot of NASCAR fans that are like, "Wow, am I really rooting for Denny Hamlin right now?" Like, that's where I have found myself at this point in my NASCAR fandom career, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's good to see him and his family be there for that win.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the Denny Hamlin win. I was kind of in the same way. Normally, I groan and roll my eyes at a Denny Hamlin win, but this one I was fine with. This one, I had a smile on my face when he crossed the line. For my top shelf, I'm actually going to go with Hendrick on this one, because Elliott Byron finished second and third. Larson was really fast all day, finished seventh. They all needed a good day. They were all in the 10th in points kind of range, except for Chase, who was fourth in points. Larson and Byron really needed to have a day where they showed that, hey, we're still Hendrick Motorsports. We're still going to be dominant. We're still going to go out there and win some races. And even though they didn't win the race, they proved that they can be a team that's going to dominate. They proved that they can be a team that is still deadly, that it could still get you. And if they figure out the car soon, they can rattle off some wins still.
For me, I'll give it to Chase Briscoe. Honestly, the O'Reilly Series race and the Cup race were kind of the similar situation where early on he got buried deep, was a lap down, multiple laps down, and the O'Reilly race in particular climbed back in that one, passed a lot of cars, finished second. Cup, again, I talked about it throughout this entire show. He needed a good run. Seemed like he wasn't going to get that, and then all of a sudden he finds himself obviously in the top 10, finishing 8th. So good run for Chase Briscoe.
I'm going to give it to Gibbs. He's tied with Bell with 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s. He's only 1 top 10 behind Reddick. Bubba, he's had 4 top 10s. And the one, thing there that's all, I can't think of the word, but all the same is they're all Toyota guys. And I mean, I did not see this performance from Gibbs going into the season. Sitting there, if you told me a few weeks ago that you would have 4 dominant Toyotas, I would have laughed and tell me that Gibbs would have been one of the top 4. But he's doing good. I got to give it to Gibbs this week.
Yeah, some good picks. Zachary, I think some would say Briscoe would be a hangover because he did get 2 speeding penalties on the day. Got a speeding ticket going to the race and then a speeding ticket from NASCAR. But anyway, let's move on to hangover. I'm going to give it to NASCAR and Fox. Have you guys seen the Fox AI commercials? They are terrible. If you guys have not seen them, just simply look up NASCAR AI commercials on anywhere. You will find them. They are atrocious. They keep doing them too. People will call them out on social media, like, "Are you kidding me? What is this?" And then they'll do it the next week still. A couple weeks ago, they did it, and it showed Tyler Reddick with a sponsor he no longer has in a Car of Tomorrow type car with working taillights. Yeah, I don't know. So then when you know what they do next for Darlington, they do Joey Logano in an Auto Trader scheme he hasn't raced since 2021 with a mix between the Gen 4 car and the Gen 6 car. If you look at it, it's so weird. But hey, and it has door handles. I don't know. Can we quit it with the AI stuff?
If you look at the Darlington one, the window net disappears mid ad.
Oh my gosh. Come on, Fox. Come on.
Oh yeah, I'm next. Okay, so my hangover of the week, even though they were technically my top shelf of the week, I'm giving this one to actually the 48 team. Horrible day. Allgaier had had issues on pit road. He didn't have a lot of speed. Just an all-around bad day. He ended up finishing 25th, 2 laps down in the race, which isn't that bad, but a lot of other guys started having issues. And this kind of goes back to my whole situation with Bowman. If the team does not produce and does not do well, and it's not like Allgaier is a bum, we know Allgaier can race. We know he's not going to go out there and win, but we know he is not going to just run 30th. A lot of more blame can be put on the team, and a lot of changes can be made with the team and not with the driver. So, and Las Vegas was not a good showing. Was not a good showing at all. Changes need to be made after that Las Vegas race for the 48 team and 48 crew. Everyone from Allgaier, the pit crew, the crew chief, the cart, everyone definitely needs some changes made.
The most exciting thing to come out of Las Vegas this week was the shove and the comments made by one of their drivers. I'm going to give it to Trackhouse Racing. Ross Chastain was the lead bunch. He finished 17th, but again, he was basically a no-show. He was similar to Joe Logano. He was running around that spot the entire race. Never really saw him. Wasn't really contending. And then obviously Connor Zilic spun after he got into a car that was trying to pit. He had no idea, caught damage, finished 32nd. He's 35th in the points once again. And then Shane Van Gisbergen was 5th in the points entering Las Vegas, now leaves 16th, lost 11 spots because he finished dead last at Vegas. Just an all-around, just an atrocious performance from a team that obviously a couple of years back was looked to be on a rising team, but now is obviously plateaued and maybe has taken a few steps downwards.
Yeah, I was going to go with SVG here. You had a 5th place points day going into this weekend, and you fumbled. All you had to do was top 20, top 15, just get through these few races. You've got Martinsville, you got Bristol coming up. I see you struggling at both of those tracks. I see you struggling at the short tracks, and you've got 2 back-to-back here. You've got to finish. You got to be solid. You got to continuously be a top 15 driver, and you will make it. But these last place finishes, these 30th place finishes that we're probably going to see over the next few weeks, it's going to be a struggle for you to make the chase this year. Yeah, I said it right, the chase.
Yeah, some good picks, guys. There was a lot of hangovers this week. I felt like there was plenty to choose from. So everyone had some good picks there. Let's get on to picks and predictions. So first, let's go back to our picks at Las Vegas. Bunny, you got the picks?
I do. So I fumbled about like SVG did. I went with Allgaier. Finished 25th. So then you guys knocked it out of the park. Go Toyota. Top 5s for everybody. You got Rizzo. You had Gibbs finishing 5th.
Damn.
Zachary, you had Bell with 4th. And William Byron and Aiden won the week with a 3rd place finish. So you guys done really good. I done bad. I have finished. That was actually my 2nd best finish for a driver this year in
That's
25th
crazy.
place. So, yeah.
So who you gonna take first?
I hope this guy does good. If not, he's going to fall in the point standings, but I'm going with Christopher Bale.
Big pig. He's not punting this week.
I've got to.
Yeah, behind the 8 ball here. Man, I'm stuck between 2 guys. There's 2 guys I really want to pick for this race. So we've been hearing about how crazy the tire wear is going to be here, how crazy the race is going to be with all the new aero package and the horsepower. It's going to be crazy. Oh man, I just taught myself in who I'm picking. I was stuck between two guys. Give me Brad Keselowski.
All right. Yeah, you said it. This race can be very chaotic because the tire fall off, the tire wear is going to be absolutely detrimental to your car and to how it drives, especially since Darlington's already a hard track to drive as is. Now adding the added tire wear and everything, that means that I'm gonna have to go with a guy that obviously has been around for quite a while. He has some momentum with him. Give me Denny Hamlin.
Okay, it's my turn as this week's winner, Rip Bozos. Obviously, you went with Bell, you went with Denny Hamlin. A lot more heavy hitters. So I might go with the guy that might be considered underdog. Until you look at his stats, one of the best Darlington drivers in the field. And no one talks about him because, well, one, he hasn't ran well this year. Two, his team's not very good. Two-time Southern 500 winner. I'm going with Eric Jones.
I knew someone was going to go Eric Jones. I knew it. I was actually stuck between two guys there. I was stuck between Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher had been on a pretty good run of top fives, top tens at Darlington, but with what we're expecting, I'll move into predictions here at Darlington. We are expecting a lot of tire wear, 4 seconds of tire wear. They're going to get 12 sets at Darlington. Like I said, 4 seconds of tire wear. Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, and Chase Briscoe all said like it is going to be crazy. It's going to be a fun race for the drivers, but it's also going to be stressful. I don't know what to expect. The way that they've changed so basically they're running the short track package at Darlington with the high wear tires at a track that eats tires like crazy. So it's going to be a fun race. So that's why I went with the guy that's a veteran of the sport, someone who could take care of the tires, who will be there late in the run. And I went with a guy, a wily old veteran that has won at Darlington within the last couple of years, Brad Keselowski. But I think it's going to be a great race. I feel like Darlington a couple of years ago was like really good, was one of the best tracks of the year, of the season. And then the last 2 years has kind of fallen just little by little. And I think with what NASCAR decided with changing the package and everything will make this race exciting. And I'm sure it'll be I always hate setting super high expectations and then it just falls in comparison to what I expect. That's kind of what happened in Las Vegas. I thought it was a solid race, not a great race like I thought. But I have a feeling that Darlington this week is going to be must watch. I really do, because the drivers aren't going to know what to expect. They've been saying their simulation has been one thing, but it could be a completely different other thing. Like this could be Bristol a couple years ago. But they said it's not going to be as weather dependent. It's going to be around 85, 90 degrees. So it's going to be hot. It's going to be slick. It's going to be fun to watch. And I cannot wait to watch it and wait to see the pandemonium and chaos we're going to get with this package.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Like you said, interesting that we're going with the short track package here. Darlington was already one of those tracks that ate up tires. Even when Goodyear was just bringing tires that just wouldn't wear and tear, Darlington was still shredding them. I think this could be a really good race too. I think this has a potential to be one of the best races of the year. Now, watch me say that and an absolute stinker happens. I do agree Darlington was probably one of the best tracks on the schedule, but I feel like the last few races haven't been all that good. I also feel like part of that's due to like the races leaving bad taste in our mouths, like last year. There's Ryan Blaney's race to win and only for a late race caution to kind of ruin that and give Denny Hamlin the win, kind of change things up. So I feel like stuff like that can leave bad taste in fans' mouths. I still think this could be a really good race. As a Blaney fan, I kind of hate coming here because Blaney, historically, this is one of his worst tracks He is not good here. That's why I was so upset last year, is because I kind of thought like this could be the only time he ever actually had a shot to win at Darlington. But I'm excited. I think this could be a great race. Like you said, the drivers with experience could be really good. So that makes me feel better about my Eric Jones pick. I know we don't see Eric Jones as like an old veteran. Really, if you pair him up with the other drivers in the field, he is on the older side. He's been racing NASCAR for 9 years now. He's almost 10 years full-time racing. And that's not even including the part-time stuff he did like way before.
Yeah, he's only 29 years old, but you know, a couple weeks back I was like looking at it. I couldn't believe he was only 29 years old. He's been there for so many years, but he's only that old now. That old, I couldn't believe it. But he's also the you know, like one of those guys that only shows up at like basically one of these tracks. I don't want to say he's like Austin Dillon, but you know, similar to Austin Dillon, in which case he only shows up at Richmond. Eric Jones is really good at Darlington and basically nowhere else. Almost like he doesn't flash high end potential anywhere else. It seems like, but hey, it's a good track to be great at, honestly, because it is a historic track. Yeah, you guys said it. I don't really like rate races going in. I mean, sure. Like I think Kansas, we go to Kansas. I think Kansas is always going to put on at least a good race. But other than that, it's really like I don't really like judge any races. I just like tend to watch, and then I make my my thought about it. But all the drivers hyping it up to what it's going to be, which is it's going to be a track that obviously has shredded tires in the past. It's supposed to do so here because they're going to bring the 750 horsepower package, which to some fans before it was ever brought on at Phoenix, they did like kind of rolled their eyes, didn't think it was going to be that big of a difference. Well, lo and behold, after Phoenix, they said it was a big difference, and it was making you know a major difference in the racing itself. And I thought the Phoenix race was obviously the best that Phoenix has produced in years. And then obviously Darlington, the way it is, it's obviously a more tougher track to drive. I think some of the reasons why it has produced some stinkers recently is not only because you have had some in my opinion, undeserving winners. It's just a really bad like aero track because obviously you run around the outside and everyone wants to run the outside there, and you can run one lane lower. But other than that, if you can't really turn your car, you're gonna be running behind cars all day long, and it's just a really bad like aero, really bad like for aero wise. So that's why it's probably the reason why it's been stinking the last couple of years is because the next gen car or the Gen 7 car now, I guess since it's been around, it's not even new anymore. It's the Gen 7 car. Since the Gen 7 car has been around, the first couple of years was great. With it, I felt like, but then after that, obviously everyone figured it out and figured out the running lanes and the data and all that. And that's why I think it's hurt it. But obviously they throw a new curveball in there with these tires. I think you can see some very exciting stuff, but again, it's just a wait and see for me. But again, Darlington is never. I want to say it's a racetrack I've always been looking forward to. Me as a Dale Jr. fan, I remember 2014. He was in position, then Harvick got him with the 4 tires. That was unfortunate. And otherwise, there's not really been too many memorable moments. I mean, Regan Smith won his first and only Cup win was here in 2011. So I guess that was nice. But otherwise, you don't really think of Darlington as being like that memorable racetrack. But it is a historic racetrack. Nothing to take away from it. And I think it's something you definitely do want to tune in for sure this Sunday.
I think it's got the potential to be a solid race. I do like the track at Darlington. I like the nostalgic behind the, facility and the race itself. But I'm anxious to see what the horsepower and the tire fall off. They said, 4 seconds, possibly a fall off. And, I think Tommy said it, having a few guys go out and have multiple cautions and be able to put it into the racer's hands or the crew chief's hands and really see what they're going to do to be able to manage the race. I think it would be interesting. I hope that we do see about 4 seconds fall off, but I hope the tires don't fall off and then plateau to where everybody's in the same boat. And it does fall off. You can manage them, but it's not a continuous fall off. So it'll be exciting to see. It's an old track, and yeah, we'll see what happens after Darlington.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good race weekend. I mean, we no longer have the throwback schemes. Some guys are having the throwback schemes, which is nice to see, but NASCAR's no longer keeping it. But anyway, guys, anything else to add on Moonshiners Racing for this week's show?
We have a question from the chat. When is Junior Motorsports getting full-time into the Cup Series?
Zachary would love to say right now. I know that for sure. I feel like every NASCAR fan would love to see Junior Motorsports in the Cup Series right this second. We've seen him do the Daytona 500 the last 2 years with Justin Allgaier, but just listen to Dale Jr.'s download and how he talks about it. Like years ago, he wanted to do it, but he thought it was too much money. And now it's just gotten outrageously expensive kind of to buy that charter. And Dale Jr. talks about how he knows he missed his opportunity. So, and he's talked about in the past, like within the last couple months or so, that if he were to be in NASCAR Cup Series, he would probably buy in as a minority owner and stuff like that. So it just all depends what happens there. I think, Zachary, you brought up Hayek Motorsports, the 47, possibly selling. Maybe that's a spot where he could go in as a minority owner. There's been, obviously in the offseason, we learned that RCR was looking at possibly selling off a stake of its ownership of RCR, that being Bobby Hillin Jr., and that he was going to try to buy into it. Obviously, that fell through. That's why there was an NDA, and then NASCAR somehow found out about that. That's a whole different story. So maybe he could buy into RCR and fix RCR. That would be awesome. I think that would be the best bet, because 3 and the 8 and 2 numbers synonymous with the Earnhardt name. I think that would be the perfect situation. And I feel like that would be almost the only situation to see. But then again, Junior Motorsports is part owned by Hendrick. That would probably be weird. Is he able to even buy into, RCR and how they also earn ECR engines? It's a mess. I don't know. Hopefully soon, but I doubt it.
Yeah, it'd be great for the sport. No matter what, just having Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the Cup Series at any capacity would be great. But like Rizzo said, he kind of just seems hesitant to do it now. Like he said he missed his window. It is much more expensive now, with the prices of everything, not just in NASCAR, with literally everything spiking up. And I think he's content with the O'Reilly series. Almost did it, but I did it. Yeah, I just don't see him going to Cup anytime soon, unfortunately. I would hate to. I would love to see it, but I think if he does, he'd have to be like a minority owner, like Rizzo said, like RCR or another race team. Unfortunately, but like I said, even if he does do that, it is still good for the Cup Series.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Rizzo said it. I was wishing for it yesterday. I mean, it'd give me a reason. Give me a reason to obviously have a team to root for, every single week. And I still enjoy watching them win the O'Reilly races. It's obviously I feel like I have a bigger bias towards them winning, obviously, than any other team there. But yeah, unfortunately, I think the ship has sailed. He was the most popular driver of the sport for so many years, and he has made money off of his career earnings and winnings and merchandise sales that he does, because he still is a top 3 merchandise seller. Honestly, every time something comes out, like I think last year, like that 40 whiskey car that they had on the track at Daytona in 2025 was like the top selling diecast. So it's not like he obviously has stopped slowing merchandise sales. He obviously sells a lot. and is a big name, but he doesn't have that much net worth, in my opinion, to obviously entertain a charter, because again, charters are going for now. Like you saw BJ McLeod sell his for $40 million. Now you can see charters go for like probably $60 million now, and he doesn't have that. And it ain't even just him. I mean, his sister Kelly runs the business for JRM a lot, and she obviously knows that it's probably not worth it to put in that much money by themselves, without having obviously a big long-term investment plan in place. And I think, yeah, like we all been saying, like a minority ownership stake would have to be probably the only path he could have to be in a cup team at this point. I'd love it to see him, buy a stake in RCR to be around the 3 and the 8. You can see the 8 DEI font come back. He owns that now. He unfortunately doesn't own the 3, but he owns that 8, our number 8 font. He runs it in the O'Reilly series. Almost said it. But yeah, I've kind of given up my thought, given up hope, honestly, on him going to Cup. However, I will say, if they just like want to run like the super speedways, kind of like what the 62 does, or something like that, then I think that's perfectly fine, and I think that's perfectly reasonable. And again, he's always going to have an impact in NASCAR, whether he's in the Cup Series or not. So all in all, again, if he doesn't have a minority stake, I don't see him, unfortunately, owning a Cup team.
I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. You guys already said it. But there was Earnhardt that revived RCR once before. I think that there's potential that it could happen again. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't know that we'll ever see it happening, but it would be great that if it did, for both parties. And there is a connection there. So you got Junior that's got a tie to Hendrick. He's tied to RCR. And I think that bond right there could really bring RCR out of the dumpster fire that they're in. But a little bit of news here from Depot Street Sports before Rizzo closes us out. Be on the lookout. Excessive BS Local and Loud, that's me and French. We got Maddox Mitchell this upcoming week. Houston, softball player, March 30th. Lena Lyons, we have her scheduled. Milligan basketball, that's coming off of the NAIA women's tournament. Then Dee Baldwin from Texas A&M, she's on the books. And Tegan Ritchie, she's a softball player from Charlotte. I don't know that we'll be airing a excessive BS show coming up this week with Raymond. I have to talk with him, but we may try to get something out around the March Madness and everything. And as far as Cletus, been trying to get in talks with him, trying to figure out what the issue was with the signal and everything through Teams. We had some technical difficulties, but we are on the books to get that rescheduled and out to everybody. So pretty excited about everything that we got coming forward.
Yeah, a lot of good things coming out of Depot Street Sports, and some of that is you guys watching and listening to our shows every week, whether that's here live right now and sending us questions, or whenever this gets posted later in the week. We want to thank you all for tuning in, following all of our socials, and listening to all of our shows. That's it from here, all of us here at Moonshiners Racing. We'll see you guys next week, and we'll talk all things Darlington and get you ready for Martinsville.